started as a whisper in a small town, an urban legend, a shadow that preyed on the weak. But when investigators found his calling card at not one, but 3 crime scenes, the whispers turned into screams. He didn't just kill his victims. He left behind something far more chilling. This is the story of the Night Shadow, a name that still sends shivers down the spines of those who remember. It began on a cold, foggy evening in 1997 in Ashwick, a quiet town nestled deep in the Appalachian Mountains. Martha Hargrove, a local teacher, didn't return home after her usual evening walk. Her husband found her lifeless body in the woods hours later, but it wasn't the gruesome scene that left investigators baffled. It was what was beside her. A small, handmade figurine carved from wood, placed delicately on her chest. Its eyes were painted red, staring blankly upward. At first, the police dismissed it as a coincidence, maybe a random trinket dropped by someone else. But then, 2 weeks later, it happened again. This time, it was a young mechanic named Ben Carter. His body was discovered in his garage, and once again, there it was. The same eerie figurine, identical to the first, resting on his chest. The town spiraled into panic. People started locking their doors, canceling evening plans, and forming neighborhood watch groups. Local media dubbed the unknown assailant the Night Shadow because of the eerie way he seemed to strike unnoticed and leave behind his ghostly calling card. Detectives combed the area for clues, but there was nothing. No fingerprints, no witnesses, no DNA. What they did notice, however, was a strange connection between the victims. Both Martha and Ben had recently reported hearing strange tapping sounds outside their windows late at night. The police went public with this detail, urging citizens to report any unusual activity. Tips poured in, most of them dead ends, until an elderly woman named Clara came forward. She claimed she'd seen a man in a hooded jacket standing outside her neighbor's house the night before Ben's murder. He was staring into the window and holding something in his hand. It looked like a knife, she whispered, but it wasn't for killing. It was for carving. This led investigators to focus on local woodworkers, but the trail ran cold. Months went by without another attack, and people began to believe the Night Shadow had vanished. But in January of 1998, the body of 16-year-old Lily Harper was found by the edge of a frozen lake. Her hands were clasped together as if in prayer, and on top of them lay the same wooden figurine. Only this time there was something new. Carved into the base of the figure was a symbol, a crescent moon with an eye in the center. A profiler brought onto the case believed the killer was trying to send a message. The crescent moon suggested he operated at night, and the eye implied he was always watching. But what was most chilling was the revelation that these symbols weren't random. They matched ancient occult markings used in rituals for invoking shadows. As the police scrambled to connect the dots, an anonymous letter arrived at the station. The handwriting was jagged and uneven, but the message was clear. Asterisk, you're looking in the wrong places. I've been watching you. The figures aren't for you, they're for them. But you'll never stop me. The shadows protect their own. Asterisk. Forensic analysis of the paper and ink led detectives to an abandoned cabin on the outskirts of town. Inside, they found dozens of wooden figurines, each one slightly different, but all sharing that same ominous design. The walls were covered in sketches of the crescent moon symbol, and there were notebooks filled with cryptic messages about cleansing the unworthy, but the killer was gone. The case remains unsolved to this day. Some believe the Night Shadow moved on to other towns, continuing his spree. Others think he died or went into hiding. A few conspiracy theorists even claim the carvings were part of a larger, darker ritual and that the killer wasn't working alone. What makes the Night Shadow case so haunting is that it leaves more questions than answers. Who was he? Why did he choose those victims? And what did those figurines truly mean? One thing is certain. The shadows in Ashwick still feel a little darker, and the faint sound of tapping on a window is enough to send chills down anyone's spine. Do you think the Night Shadow is still out there, waiting in the darkness? Or was he something more than human all along? Let me know in the comments. And remember, when the shadows start to move, keep your windows closed.